Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope this early morning recorded edition of the program. Got a little bit of a late start. I'm having problems with my connection on the internet. Here lately, I've had a lot of problems with StreamYard. I don't know. Basically, disconnecting and getting my broadcasting going or whatever. So I'm going to cut out the break today because I got about 30 something minute late start. Today is March 2nd. We finally made it to March, folks. We're getting that much farther past wintertime. We're getting closer to March Madness, the NBA playoffs next month. I guess that's where I'll start at. Listen, I haven't talked a lot of the NBA this other than having to fix load management and what is the other thing? Tanking. We talked about that. But an actual basketball story. Listen, the Knicks right now are third in the East. They got a good shot to come out of the East. They've got to tighten up on their defense and whatnot. They had a great game yesterday against the San Antonio Spurs. Beating Spurs double-digit win, wire-to-wire win. Very impressive there by the New York Knicks. But the Spurs look vulnerable. That's the most vulnerable team that I've seen. Ironically, the Spurs look against was this New York Knicks team, snapping the Spurs 11-game winning streak, and the Knicks are now 3-1 against the Spurs. It's kind of weird the way this thing's set up because, they look so the Spurs are like 3-1 against the champions, this OKC team. But the Knicks, yes, the New York Knicks are 3-1 against the San Antonio Spurs, and that loss only being by 2 points. So if for whatever reason this Knicks team would draw the Spurs in the NBA Finals, I would have to take the Knicks, folks. I mean, I watched it. They're just out hustle them. They got physical with the Spurs. But we'll see how this thing plays out. Good win for the Knicks yesterday. Going to the college game, listen, I thought the most impressive win of the weekend was Texas Tech on the road. And I think Texas Tech's like 16 now on the road against number 4 Iowa without JT Toppin. So Toppin, their best player, power forward inside. I've talked about him before. Practically a double-double every night, like a 21 and 10 kind of guy. And he gets him in the big spots. Well, he tore his ACL back on February the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. And listen, Saturday, Texas Tech came out blasting. And no pun intended, of course. But listen, getting a 82 the 73 road win at Iowa State, and the fact that they were up 15, 20-something plus points on the road at Iowa State, probably one of the more impressive road wins of the entire season. This team has been known to not have a lot of depth throughout the season. 92% of their scoring's been coming from their starters, but they found it. They found it on Saturday. I told you a few weeks ago, before the Toppin injury, I thought that Tech would be a sleeper to get in the Final Four. I don't know how long. A lot of times when a star player goes out, the team will play above their head, per se, for a few games, and they'll run out of gas, and then it'll look like a team that has lost their superstar. So we'll have to see and wait and see how this thing plays out. But right now, hey, man, that was a great win for Texas Tech. Helped me win a parlay over the weekend, I'll tell you that. Duke, listen, Duke playing right at the right time. You hope they just don't run out of gas. I mean, just playing ever since they won the nail biter in the neutral site game over Michigan last Saturday. They've had 2 double-digit wins over formidable. Well, now I know Notre Dame wasn't that good. They played Notre Dame earlier this week, last week, destroyed them. I was doing Uber, and I walked into a Dave & Buster's. I had to look up, and Duke is like destroying like Notre Dame or somebody. But this week, that Saturday, they had a formidable opponent, number 11 Virginia, and won 77-51. That is just outstanding basketball. They are definitely the number one team. If you're a Duke Blue Devil fan, you would like to see Duke play the tournament this weekend. Of course, they don't. They got one more regular season week. Then they'll start the ACC tournament. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, they'll play this week, and then they'll start the ACC tournament next week. Then the following week will be the big tournament starting for, I always say it, start on that Thursday per se. Okay. Listen, Florida playing like they did last year. Not quite as good from the guard play, but a very impressive win there for Florida over, 111-77 over Arkansas. That cost should not have taken Calipari there. I thought they would show up and play with that plus 10 points. That didn't work out. And listen, St. Mary's, kudos to St. Mary's. I thought that Gonzaga's got one of their star players missing. Maybe he'll be back here in the next week or two. There, losing to St. Mary's there. That was a rough loss there for the Zags. But hey, listen, they got their conference tournament coming up too here in a couple of weeks. We'll see how that plays out. And of course, Arizona, Kansas, another blowout loss for Kansas. Arizona looks like the real number 2 team. So Duke, Arizona looked 1-2, like I said last week. Michigan looks like a legit number 3 ranked team. Just going over that. Great college basketball, as every weekend. I'd be honest with you. It's better than the pro game. Okay, also over the weekend, ESPN's Dan Graziano, folks, says that Tua now, quarterback there with the Miami Dolphins, now looks like he's going to get released post June 1st. You said, well, why is that? Talked about it a few weeks ago. He is a $99 million cap hit. So if you cut him on post June 1st, you'll take part of that this season, and part of that into 27. So roughly $47 million dead cap money. You can survive on that kind of money. We saw the Denver Broncos do it with Russell Wilson per se, and they've been fine. They were almost in the Super Bowl last year, and they were in the playoffs the first year they had the big dead cap hit when they drafted Bo Nix. So what Dolphins are planning to do, and it's almost for certain now that maybe they will get a quarterback, whether it be in the second round, third round, whatnot. I don't think they'll get one in the first round, maybe a Ty Simpson. But, I think the Jets may take Simpson with their second pick. Maybe the Rams take a Ty Simpson and City with the second pick there in the first round. They both have 2 first-round picks there. Okay? But my guess is that's what they'll do. They'll take a later draft pick. So if they run off of what they have, there were some rumblings about the Dolphins possibly getting Malik Willis because of Hafley, the head coach there, comes over from Green Bay. He was a defensive coordinator there, I want to say 2 years now. And he's seen Malik Willis really prosper as a backup there, but Willis is going to command $25 to $30 million. It looks like a long shot for him to go to the Miami Dolphins. So Willis will be an interesting free agent. I'm not 100% sold on Willis. I saw a major improvement with him at LaFleur's system up in Green Bay, but I'm still not 100% sold on him. It looks like, and they're not saying it because it's technically illegal, but it looks like they may be tanking Miami. They've cut Bradley Chubb. They've cut Tua, or they're going to cut Tua. But here in the next week or so, which free agency starts next week, folks. A week from today, 1 week from today, maybe when I come on and do the morning show, if I could get this browser to work right on Chrome to go in a StreamYard, we'll start to hear of cuts and more cuts and whatnot signings, because legal tampering in NFL will be allowed on that Monday, 1 week from today. The actual free agency will start, I want to say, in the afternoon, Wednesday, 1 week from Wednesday in free agency. So that's going to be really interesting. But they could, going back to Miami, they could be doing like they did in 2019, tanking for Tua. Remember that campaign? You see that on the internet, trolling. Trending. I'm a little bit of a hurry because I got such a late start. I got to get to work here in a little bit. But anyways, saying tank for Tua. So they could be tanking for an Arch Manning. They could be tanking for a Dante Moore of Oregon. It's supposed to be a really, and I do agree, I think this is going to be a much, much better quarterback class coming into 2027. Those two right there at the top. Sellers from South Carolina. He could be one of the. So those two right there, possibly Sellers. There's a few others that's been mentioned in the quarterback class of 2027. Looking to be a much. And plus, hey, listen, there's always a quarterback that comes out of nowhere that rises up that ends up being a high draft pick. Who knew who Fernando Mendoza was coming in? Who knew who Jalen Daniels was coming into the draft a few years ago, or Cam Ward for that matter. Although I knew a little something about Ward when he transferred from Washington State. Okay, so and as far as Tua is concerned, I've said this a few weeks ago. I'll say it now. Due to his lack of athleticism, due to his height issues and injury issues. Same with Kyler Murray, and I know Kyler Murray, that there's going to be a little bit more on Kyler Murray, but I do think that a Tua is a backup in this league at best. I actually think Bryce Young will eventually be looked at. But these guys that are super, super small, often injury prone, they're just going to be back. They're just not big enough to sustain a 17-game season plus the playoffs in this league. I think that with Tua, I think that'll eventually be the case with Bryce Young. Hope not from my friend Sonia, out of big Carolina Panthers fan. But these guys, listen, Diego Pave, quarterback out of Vanderbilt, around the same height, measured out right at just under 5'10". He'd be a good gadget guy, backup guy, but he's just not a regular starter, man. Listen, it just is what it is, folks. He's just not that. Although I did read that, there's some speculation that maybe that Atlanta, with oh God, I can't remember the coach's name up there off the top of my head, but Atlanta would be a good fit for Tua. Be a good fit for Tua because you know that Michael Penix is coming off of an injury. Kevin Stefanski, the former Cleveland Browns coach. So that being said, you want to use him for a few games here and there, a stopgap quarterback. I get it. But Tua being a franchise quarterback, but God bless him and Kyler Murray both. They both are high draft picks. They got paid off that. And they both got second contracts in the NFL, so I'm not going to cry too much for these guys, okay? All right, so that was one of the big news stories of the particular weekend. Listen, I wanted to play this, but I think I'll just play it on my phone here. This is interesting, and I played this clip for you all the other day here. Coach, or my guest, Kevin Carroll, talking about Dan Moore for the Tennessee Titans, a left tackle here. Listen up.
That's the one spot you can't really have a problem at. You know what I mean? I think if the defense is where it's supposed to be, they can win some games despite that issue. But, it's just, like I said, they got to fix that left tackle somehow. Maybe they can draft somebody at some point, or maybe they get a free agent. I think maybe their best option might be, I'm ready to cut my losses and just eat that freaking money, if I'm being honest.
Are you that down? I talked to a guy, Ralph Williams, out of Pittsburgh, does radio in Pittsburgh area, and one of the nickname for Dan Moore was Backdoor Moore.
Right.
And you can get around it.
Man, they were saying, oh, well, he plays in a division where he's got all these really good defensive tackle or defensive ends and edge rushers and everything. Well, he didn't block anybody last year.
That was a funny line. They didn't block anybody last year. And, I went on and looked up his ranking there on Pro Football Focus, and Moore is just they had him ranked at 57 out of 82 tackles. Now, that is out of all tackles. 57 out of 84 tackles. So that is right and left tackle. So he is ranked towards the back end as one of the worser left tackles in the NFL. Titans, Dan Moore. But I looked a little farther into this thing. Maybe they can this new coaching staff under Brian DeBall as offensive coordinator can move J.C. Latham from right back to left, perhaps. Maybe have some more success there. But I thought about maybe Tennessee taking a Miami's Francis Mauga from to plug him in at left tackle. But I found out, looking further into it, he mainly played a right tackle in college. He was a right tackle. The same thing for the other highly rated tackle out of college in this draft coming up in April. This Spencer Fenno from Utah is also considered to be a right tackle. And I mentioned the other day, Caleb Lamb, the actual left tackle at Utah. His name is Caleb Lamb. He's considered to be a true left tackle, but he is more of a late first-round pick. So it looks like Titans may just have to do some adjusting on their own. Maybe if they trade down, or maybe they just trade up from the second round to get. Now, that would be ideal if you could trade up from the second round, or just flat out draft Caleb Lamb in the second round, because Tennessee will have like the third pick, which would be about the 35th pick overall, third pick in the second round, excuse me. That would be an ideal situation if you can get a David Bailey, a Reuben Bain at 4, someone like that. Anybody but Arvell Reese. I think he's a little bit overrated. And do not take any receiver at 4. Please, for God's sake, take the edge rusher. Take one of those big edge rushers. Trade down and get Lamb at 4, but do not take a receiver, and do not take Arvell Reese. I think that guy's overrated. The linebacker edge out of Ohio State. But looks like those guys are having at Ohio State, by the way, very good combines. A lot of speed there, folks. Okay, so a little short here on time on this Monday. Folks, if you like the show, share the show. Wednesday, got a great show Wednesday. Been wanting to talk to John Ristano for a while there. He's a big Bears fan. Listen, I think the Bears have a very good shot. I'll talk about possible trades, like a DJ Moore could be moved. There's no guarantee that Moore will be there. I think DJ Moore could be moved. Possibly Cole Kmet could be moved from the Bears because they've got a surplus of tight ends and that wide receiver. I want to ask John Ristano, big Bears fan, very knowledgeable of the Bears. Get a little Buffalo talk from him. They moved off their head coach, and get a few other updates on from my man John Ristano live on Wednesday. So make sure and tune in for that show, folks. So have a good Monday morning on this March 2nd, folks, and I will see you then live here on the Real Sports